Welcome to Western Mass News at noon on ABC 40. I'm David Horwitz. We begin with breaking news as the Hampden District Attorney has just announced criminal charges against students at Southwick Regional School in connection with racial bullying, which included an online slave auction that targeted black students. Western Mass News reporter Taylor Smith joining us live in studio with those details. Taylor, what can you share with us?
David, strong words from Hampden District Attorney Anthony Gulluni as he announced that 6 8th grade students have been formally charged for hate speech and racial-based bullying. Gulluni says he immediately opened an investigation once he learned of the nature of these allegations. He detailed that charges against the 6 individuals who are just 13 and 14 years old.
As of this morning, a juvenile has been charged with interference with civil rights, threat to commit a crime, and witness interference. A different juvenile has been charged with interference with civil rights and threat to commit a crime, and 4 other juveniles have each been charged with threat to commit a crime.
Gulluni also revealed what their investigation found out late Thursday, February 8th into the morning of February 9th.
A group chat transpired over the social media application Snapchat, which was created by a group of 8th grade students from the town of Southwick. This discussion involved multiple juveniles, some of whom came and went during the course of the group chat. The investigation revealed that several students uttered hateful and racist comments, including notions of violence toward people of color, racial slurs, derogatory pictures and videos, and a mock slave auction directed at 2 juveniles known to them.
And this case is being handled in juvenile court, and Gulluni says the students have been suspended. We'll have much more on these developments coming up later on Western Mass News. And I'm live in the studio, Taylor Smith, Western Mass News.